Hello there, my RPG lovers, and welcome to another video. Gothic Remake, the upcoming revival of the classic RPG from 2001, is going to be a huge turning point for this franchise. For better or worse, it depends on the quality of the game of course and how well it sells. But that's only one of the topics I want to tackle in this video.
You again! I can't go anywhere without running into you, can I?
We also have the potential remake for Gothic 2 and 3, Unreal Remaster for Gothic 1 and 2 that you can play right now, a somewhat confusing classic Trilogy on consoles, Gothic 3 on Nintendo Switch 2, and some huge modding projects. As the title may suggest, I think the future of Gothic games looks really bright.
Sounds like a tricky job.
A huge deciding factor is obviously going to be Gothic Remake, at least when it comes to new potential entries in the series. If this game turns out to be good and it sells well, we are definitely going to see the remake for the second Gothic game, at least. The big question is, will Gothic Remake manage to do good enough for this to happen? And what's considered as good enough for the publisher? As of May 2025, Gothic Remake has reached 1 million wishlist on Steam. It's been a full year since then, and we can safely assume that this number is way bigger now. Those are some solid numbers for a AA game, but I'm not really sure if that's enough. Again, we have no idea how many wishlists the game has now, but it's safe to assume that if the game reached some big milestone like 1.5 or 2 million, Alchemia would probably announce it. That never happened, so my rough estimation will be under 1.5 million. The rule of the thumb when it comes to conversion rates from wishlist to actual sales is around 20%, which means they will probably sell around 200k copies in the first couple of weeks, if everything goes well. It goes without saying that you should take these numbers with a grain of salt, but I'm just using all the available info we have right now with some common practices when it comes to sales on Steam. The quality of the game is obviously going to determine how well the game sells after the initial release. And if the reception is pretty good in general, it's safe to assume that the game will reach much higher numbers in sales than 200k copies. To sum it up, I think the remake has a high chance to be a decently successful game, or at least good enough for THQ to greenlight the remake for the second Gothic game. I guess we won't have to wait for long to find out, because the game is coming out on June 5th. And if you want to learn absolutely everything about this game, be sure to check out my previous video about the remake. Remaking the second game would be a much harder task for Alchemia, but if they prove themselves with the first remake, I think there is a high chance to see another one at least. While Gothic 2 is not a huge game by any means by today's standards, it's much bigger than the first game in the series. Especially if we count Night of the Raven expansion, which added a brand new map and also tweaked a lot of things in general. So even though Gothic 2 is not a huge game by today's standards, it would definitely be much harder to properly remake this game. On the other side, Alchemia could easily reuse a lot of things from the first remake, which would definitely make things a lot easier. That's exactly what Piranha Bytes did with Gothic 2 back in the day. The sequel for Gothic came out only a year after the first game with a lot of reused assets and features. It had a lot of new things on top of it as well, obviously, but Piranha Bytes definitely reused a lot of things from the first game because it made sense. And they continued doing so with other titles as well, after they made some new IPs. So yeah, the remake for the second game is definitely on the table for THQ and Alchemia if the first one is successful. But what about Gothic 3 C4G, your favorite game ever?
I can't go anywhere without running into you, can I?
To be honest, I don't think Gothic 3 Remake is ever going to happen. I would obviously love to see that, but I think the chances for Gothic 3 Remake are very slim. Even if both remakes end up being very successful, I simply don't see the possibility for that remake. The scope of Gothic 3 is just huge, and in order to remake this game properly, THQ would need to invest a serious amount of money. And I'm pretty sure that THQ will not be ready to risk it, because there is also a huge chance for making the same mistakes like the original Gothic 3. But apparently a lot of people don't agree with me on this, judging by my comment section at least, and nothing would make me happier if you guys are right. I just think the chances for that are really slim.
I know that, you moron!
Putting the remakes aside, let's take a look at what's happening with other games in the series. If you're getting ready to play the remake, and if you're willing to pre-order the game on consoles, you will also get Gothic 1 Classic for free. Here's where it gets a bit confusing for no apparent reason. These are the official release dates for Gothic Classic Trilogy on consoles. July 28 is the official release date for Gothic 1 Classic on consoles. But if you choose to pre-order the remake, you can actually play it right now if you want. You don't have to wait until July 28. I guess this is an interesting way to introduce the first game to console players for the first time before the remake, but it's not something I expected to see. I was actually hoping to see all games from the trilogy much sooner than this, which would give everyone a chance to get into Gothic games before the remake. That's what made the most sense to me. I mean, it's very nice that you get the original game without extra cost if you pre-order the remake, but I was really hoping to see the full trilogy get released before the remake and for a smaller price. All classic games from this trilogy will be priced at $30, which is a bit too much if you ask me, although we know that console games are usually priced a bit higher. On the bright side, the console players will have a steady amount of new Gothic games throughout the entire year. Well, maybe new is not the best way to put it, but you know what I mean. I think $15 to $20 would be a much fairer price. So even if the remake turns out to be a bad game, you can still check out the OG Gothic RPGs one by one by the end of the year. I will check out all of these games on consoles and probably make a separate video eventually. We already had the chance to see how old Gothic games work on modern consoles when the Switch version released, for both Gothic 1 and 2. PS5 and Xbox consoles should obviously run the game much better, even though Switch 1 did a decent job with the performance. In the meantime, I also tested out both Gothic games on Switch 2, and the performance seems rock solid. It seems locked at 60 FPS, which was definitely not the case with Switch 1. But what has to be the most interesting thing related to Classic Trilogy on consoles is Gothic 3. This is going to be the first time that this game runs on a different platform, because it's been a PC exclusive for over 20 years. I'm really excited, but very concerned, especially when it comes to performance, because Gothic 3 is notorious for technical issues. However, THQ said that this version is going to include all the famous community patches, which pretty much fixed 99% of technical issues. Even so, I'm still not fully convinced that this game is going to work great on PS5 and Xbox consoles, and especially Switch 2, until I get to see it for myself. I'm also very curious to see how they're going to rework the UI and the controls for this game. Gothic 3's original UI is definitely not going to be a good fit for consoles, so I assume they're going to make a completely new user interface, at least I hope so. Maybe they're going to do something similar like they did with previous Gothic games on consoles, but I'm not exactly sure if this is going to work. Gothic 3 is a much different game, so they can't reuse the same UI from previous console games. Also, Gothic 3 was not so minimalistic when it comes to UI in general, so it's going to be interesting to see how they choose to handle this. I'll be very disappointed if they don't try to overhaul the UI completely. The new additions to UI for Gothic 1 and 2 on Switch were serviceable, but a little bit low effort. It was not a huge deal, and you could forgive them a little bit because of the old engine, which was probably hard to work with. The most important thing about it, it worked fine. Gothic 3 is also a pretty old game, but it had a more modern UI, and we could see a couple of amazing mods on the PC which changed the UI quite a bit. I'm also very curious about the controls and how well the controllers will work. We had controller mods on PC for many years now, but they were far from being perfect, especially when it comes to aiming ranged weapons. It's yet to be seen how they choose to handle this on consoles. Gothic 3 is also coming out on Switch 2, which came as a separate announcement on their Discord page. I was shocked to see this, to be honest, but I will also be prepared to test this version of the game as well. I just got the Switch 2 as a birthday gift from my girlfriend, and I'll be ready to play it when it comes out. Yeah, what a perfect way to test out a brand new console by playing a 20 years old RPG. Hopefully, they won't make the same mistake as Joe Wood and Piranha Bytes back in the day. I just can't handle another Gothic 3 disaster.
Sounds like a tricky job.
Did you know that Gothic 1 has a fully playable remaster in Unreal Engine that you can play right now? As long as you have the original game on Steam, you're just a few clicks away from trying this version of the game for free. It's like a semi-official community remaster for the game that's apparently approved by THQ on Steam. I'm not exactly sure what's the criteria for posting a different game version on Steam, but I'm pretty sure that the publisher or the original developer of the game has to greenlight such projects. So I'm really glad that THQ has allowed this to happen for both Gothic games on Steam. I've been playing this remastered version of the game live on stream, and I'm just a few episodes away from completing the full playthrough. I had to make a small pause, but I'll be back soon to finish the playthrough and possibly make a review about this version. This fan remaster is much more than just a facelift for the game, it also includes some new mechanics for the gameplay. The artistic style is almost identical to the original game, and it obviously uses the same assets. However, the lighting is so much better, the game looks much crispier in general, there are new weather effects and so on. It's not without its problems, but it's an interesting take on the original game. For example, now you can free aim with the bow, instead of using the target lock system, there is an AoE damage for melee weapons and so on. It has some problems with the balancing, but I think it's really fun to play regardless. And I believe there is a new patch coming for it, which will address some of these issues. Not so long ago, Gothic 2 also got the same treatments. We still don't have the 1.0 version of the Gothic 2 remaster, but it's fully playable. You can find it under game versions and betas, just like for Gothic 1. After you do that, the Unreal version of the game will unlock and you can check it out for free. So you don't need to do anything extra and download mods from some external third-party website or mess with the game files or even use the Steam Workshop. It's literally just a few clicks away, like I said before. Besides the huge remaster in Unreal Engine, Gothic 2 keeps receiving total conversion mods of high quality. A recent total conversion mod called Golden Gate 2 managed to gain a lot of attention. Golden Gate 2 brings a brand new area, new story, over 70 non-linear quests and much more. It offers around 30 hours of gameplay, which is pretty damn good. I'm yet to try out this total conversion mod for myself, but it's definitely on my to-do list. And we can't forget about the legendary standalone game in Gothic 2 engine, which also kinda revived the franchise in its own way. The Chronicles of Murtana Arkolos was pronounced as a mod of the decades. They took the Gothic 2 engine and pushed it to its limits with a brand new story, a lot of content and new mechanics. The team behind Arkolos is still working on a brand new update that's supposed to be the last one. Update 2.0 will contain a lot of brand new content, new quests, new items, random events, changes to the game world map and more. If you get into old Gothic games, you should definitely check out Arkolos after playing Gothic 2. You can also check out my review for the game if you somehow missed it. If you're following my channel, you probably know that I make videos about Gothic 3 on somewhat regular basis. Not so long ago, I made this video where I showcased some of the amazing mods for Gothic 3, which substantially improved the game in general. New content, animations, and even brand new combat mechanics. This game has never been better, and the modding community has never been more active when it comes to Gothic 3. Shortly after I made that video, we got even more updates for some of these great mods, and I'll soon make an updated video about it. When it comes to the biggest, and probably the only total conversion mods for this game, it's been in development ever since 2011. That's kind of crazy, but on the bright side, this project is still very much alive. Community Story Project aims to improve and extend the somewhat meager parts of Gothic 3, especially the story. But this total conversion mod is going to be a lot more than that. You can check out their official YouTube channel where they post a lot of updates about it. So yeah, those will be my thoughts about the future and the present for Gothic games.
I guess that's one way to put it.
There's a lot to look forward to, especially if the remake turns out to be a good game. But even if it doesn't, the original trilogy has a lot of interesting things going on, which should make you happy if you're a Gothic fan. And as always, I'll be there to cover every major news about this beloved old school franchise, so stick around for that. And tell me your opinion about this topic in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more content like this. And if you want to go a step further, consider supporting your boy by becoming a YouTube channel member or a Patreon. Huge thanks to all my current supporters, and I'll see ya in the next one.